So I'm going to show you how to make bread. I am making 3 different loaves. So every time you make a loaf, you put it in one bowl. So you start out with 3 cups of flour. So there's 1, 2, 3. And then there's 3 cups in that bowl, 3 cups in that bowl, because I'm going to show you 3 different variations of this recipe. And each bowl gets a heaping 1/4 teaspoon of yeast. You can use active bread yeast. You can also use the instant, there's a fast acting one. Really doesn't matter. Both of them work. So just any kind of yeast, I use it in the jar so it stays in the fridge. When I make it, I actually do heap it. You can see that's heaping. I get as much as I can on top of the 1/4 teaspoon for each one of those. Okay. Then you're going to use a teaspoon and a half of salt in each one. So there's 1 and a half, 1 half. All right. Then you're going to make your water as hot as you can. So I just let that heat up a little bit. And you're going to make 1 5/8 cup, which is a pain because it's not a 5/8 cup. So I like to use the 2 cup measure. And 5/8 is between the 1/2 and 3/4 line. Because 1/2 is 4/8 and 3/4 is 6/8. So I basically go 1 in between those 2 lines. So more than a half.
1 5/8 or just 5/8?
1 5/8 cup.
Okay.
So you'll see here. And that's enough. That one ends up at 3/4, so I just dump up a little bit. You just want your water between those 2 lines. That one's good. And you literally just dump it in your first mixture. You're going to do that 2 more times. Another one. Okay, so now you are going to mix each bowl, and literally you just mix it till all the flour is mixed in. I don't think you have to worry about over mixing. The recipe says it should look shaggy. I'm not really sure what that means, but basically sticky, I'm assuming. So I'm just going to keep going until my flour is mixed in. It is definitely gets to be somewhat of a ball. This one seems a little drier than usually, but that's fine. They all seem to turn out the same, so it really doesn't matter. So that'll be my first one. So you can see the flour's basically all mixed in. I'll do my second one. So we're gonna make, so you're gonna start this dough the night before because it has to sit in the bowl for 12 to 18 hours. So like tonight we're doing this at, can you see what time it is? 9:30?
Yeah.
So we will not touch it till at least 9:30 in the morning. That's probably when we'll do it about. But otherwise 12 to 18 hours, it should sit on your counter overnight. You'll see tomorrow, I'm gonna take 1 of these bowls and make them baguettes. I'm gonna take 1 and make kind of a fruit, I'll show you in a second, for toast, for breakfast. And then 1 more Italian traditional, really, really crunchy loaf. So there's your second loaf and my third. It's a very hard bread to screw up. I guess it's never really gotten messed up. So I don't think you can mess this up. So this third loaf, I am gonna add craisins. So I have craisins here. You can use I guess I've always used craisins. You can probably use raisins if you like those better. So I'm gonna mix this up a little better first. Basically, there's no measurement. Literally, I take a handful and I dump it. And I'm gonna take a handful of pecans. I chop them up and dump that in there. So basically, it's just like a fruit and a nut. It's very good bread and it's really good toasted. We like to put cinnamon sugar on it. But the first time Tony and I had this, we literally ate the entire loaf. So it's very good. So beware of that one. But so right now you're just gonna take your plastic wrap. I got that mixed up good enough. You'll take your plastic wrap. And cover each bowl tight. So I like to, okay. And then it's just gonna sit on the counter for 12 to 18 hours. And then we will see you in the morning for step 2. 9:30 in the morning, so 12 hours later, these are ready to be dumped. You'll see they rose a little bit and there's some circles, holes in the dough. This first step is very easy. You want to handle your dough as little as possible. You just want to take your spatula and kind of just slide it out onto your floured surface. So I did put flour on that bottom. So slide it out. And I like to take just a little bit of flour and put it on the top so it's less sticky. I fold it over once and I fold it over twice and I cover it with that plastic wrap for 15 minutes. I'm going to do the same thing on the other loaf. Let's see how this one looks without the fruit. And you just dump. And put some flour. Fold it once. Fold it twice. Cover it with plastic. Do it to your third loaf. You are going to let these 3 loaves sit for 15 minutes. And then we'll be back. Oh, Tony would say the most important thing to do right now is to wash these bowls while they're fresh, because if you let them harden, it becomes like glue. 15 minutes later. So you're gonna grab your dough. So basically there's 3 ways to make these. You can make them the traditional way, is you're gonna, if you want a oval crust, super crusty, you're gonna wanna use this pan. So we'll make it that traditional way. When you use this kind of pan, that pan is actually heated in the oven before you put the bread dough in the pan. So we'll go ahead and do that one first. So basically I'm taking just a traditional normal loaf. I'm going to set it on this dishcloth to rise. You can put flour on the bottom if you don't want it to stick. I do like to put cornmeal on the bottom. It just gives it a little bit crunchier texture. So I just kind of put cornmeal on the bottom of that towel. And now I'm going to, again, add some flour to the top. So now you're not gonna knead it. It's called no-knead bread for a reason. So basically I'm gonna make it in a ball. So I'm gonna pick it up and I'm gonna keep adding flour and turning it until I get my nice ball. And the reason I'm adding flour is because otherwise you don't want your bread to be sticky. You want it to be nice and soft and in a ball. So you handle it as little as possible. I got it in a ball. I put it on here. I cover it, and you are gonna let it rise for 2 hours is the minimum. I usually do 3 to 4 hours. Okay, so that's one way to make it. Second way to make it is we're gonna make baguettes. So this is a baguette pan, hard to find. I had to order this online. So spray your pan, take your traditional bread loaf, cut the dough in half. So I'm just gonna take half of this, and I am going to flour it again. So now I need to make a long loaf. So not a ball anymore. So basically I'm just gonna go like this, kind of keep pulling it till I get it to be like a long hot dog bun. And I'm going to set it on there for my baguette. I'm gonna do the same thing for my second one. Just keep adding dough until you get it so it's not sticky. And again, I'm gonna pull. Anytime it gets sticky, I basically put some more flour on it. Okay. All right, put it right there. Now this one, I am going to put a towel over the top of it to let that one rise. Same amount of time. And the third way you can make it is you can do a traditional bread loaf, okay? Advantage of this is it comes out like a loaf of bread. It's very easy to cut. It will not get your crust as crunchy. So if you really, really, really love your crunchy crust, you probably want to stick with that first method. That's the crunchiest or the, crunchiest way. This is my cranberry and nut loaf. I normally put it in that crunchy pan to make that round loaf. I'm going to try bread loaf today, just because it's more like a sandwich loaf that way. Easier to cut, looks more like a piece of toast. One thing I should say while I'm doing this is once you bake this, if you're going to eat it that day, great. But if you're not going to eat the bread, you should put it in a Ziploc bag and freeze it immediately, or actually after it cools, by the end of the day. Some people make the mistake and they make it Monday, they don't eat it, it's Tuesday, put it in the freezer, it's not as good. But if you make it on Monday, you put it in the freezer Monday night, the day you take it out of the freezer will actually taste as fresh as you ate it that day out. So when I do a bread pan, I want to get it to be about that same length. I do not want it to be high when I set it in there. The reason for that is because if it's already high and it raises, it's going to become really high. So you kind of want it to be very uniform on that. And you're going to cover that up again. And you're going to let it sit for 2 to 3 hours. Ready to bake it because it's been rising for over 2 hours, like 2 to 4. You're going to want to start your oven at 435. Very important is that you put your empty pan in the oven when you start it, because this bread has to go in a very hot pan. So my oven's ready to go. If you only make a closed pan, if you only do this type, you do not need to have any water in your oven. I'm doing some of each, so I'm going to show you in a minute how I have to have water. So this pan is empty. The pan you should use should have a cover. Make sure it's covered. It could be a Dutch oven, but don't go buy a Dutch oven. A lot of people have like a spaghetti pot. As long as everything is oven safe, you can use that type of pan. I'm going to take my loaf. I'm going to bring it over here because this can get messy and I don't like it to get on my stove. So this is a very hot pan. Take the lid off. It's basically empty right now. I'm gonna just gently set my bread dough in there and just do the best you can. And then you shut it, close it, and I kind of move it so it's in the center a little bit. All right, that's gonna go in my oven. All right, and then these are really easy. So these, since there's no cover, we have to have water in our oven because that's what makes it makes the steam will make this crusty or crispy. So go ahead and just put, I'm just gonna put this in the oven anywhere, and then my baguette also goes in. Just gonna put that on top. But I need to get steam, and the only reason I'm doing steam is because I have those open breads. If I had closed ones, I would not be doing steam. So I have another pan underneath here that you might not be able to see. Just microwave safe pan, don't use glass. Put your water in the pan, close it. That will create steam for when you bake it. So anything that's open only takes 30 minutes. The closed ones actually take 45 minutes, but no matter what, you stop it after 30, take the cover off, and the last 15 minutes you leave open. So again, open is 30 minutes, it's pretty much done after 30 minutes, but a closed pan, after 30 minutes, take the lid off and bake it another 15. All right, the 30-minute timer just went on. So here's our baguettes. I'm just gonna take them off, set them on a cooling rack. Here is our cranberry nut loaf. Set that up. And now the covered pan. First of all, I don't need the steam anymore. So I'm gonna take that, the only reason you're having that steam is for those open pans. So I'm gonna just take it out. Okay, the covered pan. Now loses its cover. And then you're gonna bake that for 15 more minutes and it will be ready to go.